Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Cup. I am so excited and honored today because I have Dr. Piper Gibson with me. And Dr. Gibson is a doctor of advanced holistic nutrition, traditional naturopathic doctor, and is a board certified doctor of natural medicine. Piper helps scared, frustrated, overwhelmed parents get access to the tools and education they need so they can start reducing their child's tic disorder symptoms naturally. She is an international bestseller author and the founder of the Tic Disorder Institute, Regenerating Health. Her foundational program teaches parents holistic methods that will restore their child's health in the face of potentially confusing and worrying diagnoses. Thank you so much, Dr. Piper, for being here today.
Yes, thank you. I am super excited to be joining you today. Thank you, Caroline, for having me.
Of course, it's a complete honor, and I'm so excited just to dive into your journey of what it was like going through everything that you've gone through to get to this point to start your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I didn't start out here. I actually talk about it in my book, Corporate Dropouts, is that, I went to school, I wanted to be a fashion designer. I had all these big dreams. And then we started a family. And when my son was 6, he started having these really strange symptoms. He was cranking his neck and blinking his eyes and clapping his hands. It was very immediate overnight. And we started going to the doctor, and the doctor was like, well, we think he has a neurological tic. We'll send you to the neurologist. And it kind of sent us down the rabbit hole of going from doctor to doctor. Nothing was really working for us. Nothing in the conventional approach was working for us. And his symptoms seemed to be getting worse. So, through all of this, I decided to go back to school and relearn everything I thought I knew about health and wellness. And the reason that I went the natural, holistic route was because we had tried all the conventional things and they weren't working. So I said, okay, what is this next approach? What can we do? So I went back to school. I completely relearned everything I thought I knew about health and wellness. And, it got my son back on track. And now I work with families all over the world to help them with their children's tic disorder symptoms.
Yes, no, and that's so amazing what you're able to do and really help people. But can you explain what a tic disorder is for those that might not know?
Yeah, absolutely. So a tic disorder is a movement disorder. So many people have heard of Tourette's syndrome, which is really where you've had a tic disorder symptom for long term, for longer than a year. But it involves movements like blinking your eyes or jerking your neck, clapping your hands, maybe multiple movements, or it involves vocal noises. So some kids will clear their throat or make whooping noises. So it's vocal and motor. Sometimes it's one or the other, but really it's a movement disorder. These kids will tell you they feel like they cannot control their body. It's like they have to do these movements or they're going to explode.
hmm Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's so important to understand what it is because a lot of parents might not know what it is or just not be exposed to it unless their child or somebody in their family is going through it or someone they know. So I'm curious with that decision to go back to school, what was that deciding factor of? I know you mentioned it was just you thought you knew so much about health and wellness, but what was that deciding factor for you?
It really was. As a mom, just no longer wanted to see my son struggle. And because I felt like we had tried everything else, I was like, this is something that I have to do. I have to try it because we had tried everything else. So it was kind of that last ditch effort to help him. I had to just relearn all of these things.
And what was that like going through having to learn everything over? Was there any like big surprises to you?
So I would consider myself a lifelong learner. I feel like it's a hobby. And so it was just really interesting to learn about how everything is connected. All of your body systems are connected. We go to biology class in 8th grade. That's not what you learn. You learn, cardiovascular system, digestive system. You're not learning like how all of those things are connected. So to really learn all of those connections and really see how they function within the body and how you can use things like food and environment to really manage your health was completely fascinating to me.
Yes, no, I absolutely love that because especially somebody like me, like I'm all about the mind body connection as well. And I think when we're able to understand how the environment affects that too, it's not just one element, it's so many elements. And that's what I'm hearing from you too.
It really is. And I think that there's such a disconnection
Yeah,
in the conventional approach. We need it. You break an arm, you have a heart attack. We need that.
right.
But I really think that we miss that connection to our bodies and how everything works together in relation.
Absolutely. And I'm curious because I know you work with a lot of parents now. And what is that like because of your experience too, going through everything that you have? What has some things that have come up for the parents that you work with?
I think for me, it's that I've been in their shoes and I can relate. So when they call me with a problem, my clients actually get access to me. We have a little chat system and they can access me all the time. So I'm constantly asking questions. They're constantly asking me questions. And for me, I think it's the fact that I've been there. We have that connection. I've been there, done that. And so when they call me and maybe they're in a panic or, they need recipe ideas or anything else that's on their list, I've done it. I've gone before them. And so for me, I think that a lot of parents appreciate that because there's not anyone else out there who's a parent who's been through it, who's doing what I do for these families and with these families.
Yeah, you're definitely one of a kind because I hadn't heard about that until like when I had originally met you, because I just find it so fascinating that when it is your child, you will do anything. And I've heard this from so many moms and parents in general. But it's just amazing that you took that extra step to really make sure that your child was getting their needs met as well. And I'm curious with building your business because you've built a business around this. You've wrote a book. So I'm curious because of all your experiences with your child and their experiences that they've had in you as well. What was that like starting the business? What was that initial step?
Yeah. So I didn't originally start out as my business plan. This wasn't my business goal. It was really just kind of get my child back on track. But when my own health changed through the process, when his health changed through the process, friends, family started coming to me asking for help. And it really just kind of snowballed. And I didn't start out working with families with tic disorders. I didn't know at the time how many other families struggled like we did. And I had a friend who said, you're so good at this. You helped your son. Like, why not help other families? And I really started digging in, looking at what other people were experiencing. And honestly, I was shocked. I mean, tens of thousands of families with kids who are struggling the same things we did. And so it really kind of made me pivot. And it really has been a snowball for me to leave my corporate job. I was training doctors on using genetics in their practice, and to leave my corporate job and work full time with my own clients has just been incredible.
Uh, and it's amazing because of how many families you are helping, especially something that's not talked about enough. And that's what I love, like having this conversation too with you of just bringing more awareness to it. Because I think if we know more things, we can be able to counteract it and have the right resources and tools. So that's what I'm curious too. What were some of the resources and tools that you use to help your child, but also the families you work with?
Yeah. So when I first started out, we had been recommended that we go to a nutritionist. I live in a small town. There was one nutritionist in town. She was booked for 6 months. And I was like, okay, we'll just figure this out ourselves. So, I started buying cookbooks and experimenting with recipes and doing all of these things. And so now, I really want to give my clients all those things that I never had because I felt like I was searching and wasting time. So recipe guides, how to clean out your, pantry, what are toxins, how do the toxins impact your body, what are the toxins in your home that you should be getting rid of, what's a good cookware, what's a good, oil to use, all of these different things, health and beauty products. And so I give my clients tons of information. I actually have a team, someone on my team, she's a family health specialist, and she meets with all of my clients after I do to really help them refine what they're doing, because I want them to feel like they have the most support on the planet when they're working with us.
Yes, that wraparound where I think it's sometimes there's loopholes or not loopholes, but really like holes where you can close that and loop it back together and really understand what's going on for that individual. And would you say are there common themes that you see maybe that like families are going through?
Yeah. So what I find with the families I'm working with is that mostly mom. I do have some dads, but it's very mom heavy. Mom spends a lot of time researching. Mom is on Google. She's on PubMed. She is researching everything. She's ordering supplements. She's changing diet. They're doing all of these things to really, because like me, they didn't want to watch their children struggle. But what I have found is there's really kind of this step-by-step approach that I'm using with my clients. And when I'm working with other moms, they've tried it all, but they've tried it all in varying degrees and at different rates, doing different things. And so I really find that, the families I'm working with, they are extremely intelligent. They're very educated on their child's symptoms and what they're experiencing. They've been to doctor after doctor. And so when they come to me, are really looking for that support and really looking for more answers. Like, why is my child dealing with this?
Yeah, no, and I'm sure just like as moms too, the research that goes into if any child has something going on, they're on that computer, the phone, just figuring out what is this. So it can be a better life for everybody, not just their child too, but how that dynamic can impact the family as well. And how has that impacted your family, the changes that you've made? What have you seen the differences when you started
Yeah,
making this?
10 years ago, my son is 16 now. So 10 years ago, when my son was diagnosed, I thought, how is this child ever going to live a normal life, to be able to, do sports and not be bullied and drive a car and go to college and all these things? Like, I had at one point pulled them out to homeschool him. He just could not function in regular society. It just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so, he's 16 now. He's got a driver's license. He's incredibly responsible. He's calm, cool, and collected. He is just thriving and, symptom free and just doing amazingly because we were able to apply these holistic methods.
Ugh, I love it. And I think it's just, there's a lot of medicine out there, but when we're able to go the natural route for so many things, it can really change our world. And I don't think people sometimes realize the depth of that and how that can really impact not just the person, but everyone. Because like my background's marriage and family therapy. So it's like I always look at the system of how one thing can really impact everyone. And that's what it sounds like too. You're able to create an environment for your son to thrive, and it changed the whole dynamic as well. And for these families too that you get to work with day in, day out.
Yeah, it really does.
Yes. And I want to talk about your book. So can you tell us a little bit more about being an international bestseller author?
Yeah, it's been kind of surreal. I was working on a book. It is a multi-author book. So there's 20 of us who each wrote a chapter of the book, but it's really about how we went from, working and being in the corporate world and what that was like for us to now doing what we're doing now. So it's called Corporate Dropouts. And my chapter is called From Jeans to Jeans, because when I first graduated college, I was working for a denim manufacturer. I was, a designer. I was a fit model. I was doing all these things in fashion, which honestly was like the worst job I've ever had in my entire life. And how I, fell in love with genetics and the holistic natural approach and everything that I'm doing now. And so it's been kind of a whirlwind. I just ordered 30 copies for myself so that I can have those to, give to friends and family. But I'm also working on my own individual book, and it's going to be all about tic disorders and the process that I've used with my son and that I now use with my clients.
Oh, amazing. When is that going to be coming out? Do you know yet?
So we're halfway through the kind of editing process. So maybe by the end of the year, early next year, 2023. But yeah, I'm really excited to get that out because I just think that there's such a lack of information when it comes to tic disorders.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely have to link that coming soon
Yeah,
for your
absolutely.
book. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I'm curious too, that switch from fashion and the corporate world and denim to now, what, even though it was that push with helping your son, was there any hesitations of making that switch from corporate to working as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, there really was because, I had spent 20 years pretty much working for somebody else, doing the things that they needed me to do and working for someone else. And so when it came time for me to say, I have all of these clients, I have all of these people that need my help, it is kind of a scary jump because it's like, well, what if people aren't getting results, or what if, people aren't coming to you or finding you? And so there is that little bit of fear becoming an entrepreneur, just completely working for yourself. Mm-hmm. However, I will say that, yesterday I was at lunch with my husband. I saw my clients. I went to lunch with my husband. It is so incredible to work for myself and be able to give these families everything that they've been looking for.
Yes. And, I want to talk a little bit about the fear too, because I think a lot of people don't really know how it works sometimes before you get into it. Once you're in it, you're like, okay, this is a little harder than it looks. But what was that experience like pushing through that fear that you had?
So I am very much a go big or go home person. So it came to the fact that, I really prepared myself. I was like, okay, am I, bringing in what I need to bring in to, pay the bills? Am I doing what I need to do to be able to help support my own family while I'm supporting other families? So for me, it was like, okay, I'm ready. Do it now or never do it. And so, I really just dove in and did it and pushed through it. But I do that really fairly often. That's just kind of my personality. I call myself a rip the Band-Aid off mom. So some people are like, ooh, real slow. And some people are like, let's just do it. And so it drives my husband a little bit bonkers because I'm like, well, let's just do this. And he was like, well, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. Let's look at the Google reviews. And I'm like, no, let's just do it.
Oh, I love it. It's a good balance though. It sounds like with you and your husband, it's like the go big, go home, the like logic, it comes together really nicely.
It does. And you are a family marriage therapist. So, you probably see that, but he's like, I got to check the Google reviews. And I'm like, no, just do it.
And that's how you get things done. That's how my boyfriend is too. He's like, just do it. I'm like, let's think about it. So I can totally relate to that. But I think it's really when we look at it too, of when we are doing something, when we are taking a big risk, it's a leap, but it's calculated. But at the same time, from what it sounds like, there was such a need for it too. And when we find what there is a need for and we have the solution, that's how we get to help so many people. And that's amazing that what you're doing.
It really has been incredible because, when I started really focusing in on the tic disorders about 2 years ago, I have brought on, most of the people that work for me are parents who've been through my program because they get it, they've done it, they've been there. And so, it's been a whirlwind because, now they're in a position that I'm in where, their kids have seen these huge results and now they're on my team helping other people. So it's been a really cool process.
Oh, I love it. I love seeing that too unfold. And I think that's like the beautiful thing. I'm sure just that journey that you've been on, but like the journey of your clients that you work with and what's been like that at the end when they've gone through the program. What have you seen the difference with those individuals?
Yeah. So my intake specialist, her name's Danielle. So her daughter started with me. It's been a little over a year. But when her daughter started, her tic was doing burpees. She did burpees like all day long and her knees would be bruised and she could not control herself. She couldn't hold a pencil in school and concentrate. And, her mom would send me videos of when she was really little, just all of these obsessive compulsive things that she was doing. Mm-hmm. And so about 90 days, 4 months in, symptoms went away. She was no longer struggling with that. She's 14. And so for her, she will call me, and she called me the other day and said, I just wanted to tell you that I was able to have a sleepover, which is something I've never been able to do before because I don't want other people in my space. And the very first time she called me and I just started crying she said, I just wanted you to know today was the first day that I've been able to sit in school and hold my own pencil and do my own writing. And of course I am bawling. But she's called me and just been like, you've just changed my life. She got into her dream high school. She had a tryout for high school. She got her dream high school. She joined the rock climbing team, just all of these things that her mom was like, a year ago, there was no way she was going to be doing these things. And so, of course, now her mom is like my right-hand man and she is amazing. But to see these kids just go through the process and to really reclaim their own lives and be able to do all of these things they've wanted to do, they can take center stage in their own life. And mom is really able to reclaim her own life. Mom spends so much time researching that it becomes like her hobby, her job, her second hustle. And so when the kids are no longer struggling, she has to find something to do with all of that time.
Well, it's a good problem to have. And I'm sure there's just like, I was getting teary eyed, like listening to that story because it shows too much, one, how much you care, but how much of the difference you're making in these children's lives and their families of just being able to live a life where they have that freedom to be able to go rock climbing, like being able to do that, like not being able to do the burpees and hurting her knees, like those things like really make such a difference. It might seem small to somebody else, but it's so huge, magnificent what they've been able to accomplish. So yeah. I just want to thank you. I'm feeling it all.
I feel it all the time. So at least once a week, a client will call me and I will cry. Just be like, I have so many of the moms I work with. I'm going back to school. I want to learn to do, the things that you're doing because it's changed our lives. So yes, at least once a week, I am crying good, happy, joyful tears for clients, at least.
Yes, and it just shows too the difference you're making like beyond what you're doing. Absolutely. Like it's just there, and that's why I love being able to interview people like you, like just being able to make such a difference in this world and really seeing that the fruits of that. Oh, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
So I could probably ask you a million more questions, but we're going to get into the rapid fire questions if you're ready for them.
I think I'm ready.
Okay. So the first question is, who is your hero?
Who is my hero? I think that my mom is probably my hero, just because she has instilled in me all of this ability to go big or go home, to just do it, to take that chance, and to, really instilled in me the confidence that I can do anything I want to do. I can learn to do anything as long as I put my mind to it. So, for me, that to me is just been amazing.
Moms are amazing too. And it just shows. Look what you've been able to accomplish, and you as a mom.
Absolutely.
So, what motivates you to work hard, work smarter, and really be able to foster everything you're doing?
Yeah, my clients, definitely. I mean, it started out as my son, but now it's my clients. It's my clients. They just drive me to, I'm just so passionate about them and helping them and seeing their results and seeing their growth. And so absolutely 100%, it's the families that I work with.
Yes, I can see that. So if you were to be a superhero, what powers would you have, or power?
Yeah, I love this question because I have a podcast and I actually ask everybody on there, what's your superpower? My superpower is connecting the dots. So being able to see things that other people can't see and being able to make that connection and put it together. So totally my superpower is connecting the dots.
Oh, I love that. That's a good one. I haven't heard that. So what is the most daring thing that you've ever done?
The most daring thing I've ever done. I have flown a plane, and like a little plane. And part of that, getting your pilot's license, which I never got, is turning the engine off and just like gliding. And so terrifying, absolutely terrifying. I never did get my pilot's license, but that is probably the most daring thing that I've ever done.
That's so cool. And you can just like go do that. Like, I mean, how does that work?
Yes. So my mom was married to a pilot, and he was giving my sister and I flying lessons. And so, yeah, that was like last lesson that Piper ever took, flying the plane. I flew the plane, but after that I was like, no, thanks. I'm done.
I believe that. That's so cool though. So fascinating. I love that. That'd be really scary though, to fly a plane. I'm like terrified of heights, but like I don't mind the plane.
Yeah, it was a little wild.
So what is the phone app that you use the most?
Oh, Facebook. Facebook.
Makes sense. Facebook, it's a lot of people on there.
And it's a lot of, I have a private group for families, and I have so many people reach out to me there. So yeah, I mean, I think as an entrepreneur, Facebook is really just standard part of business for so many people these days.
Absolutely. It definitely is.
Yeah.
So what is the last book that you've read?
The whole book that I've read. So right now I'm reading The Witchfinder's Sister. It's pretty good. I can't tell you who the author is because I don't remember, but it's a good book.
No worries. What's it about?
So it's about the witch trials and the witch hunts. And it's like from the sister's perspective. So it's very different. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that is cool. I haven't heard of that book.
Yeah, it's a fiction book, but
yeah, it sounds like a good read. So if you were to have a movie about your life thus far, this is a very cool life so far, who would play you?
Oh, I would love to have Drew Barrymore play me.
I could see that.
Yeah, love her.
Yeah, she's an incredible actress. And I see some similarities too.
Well, thanks.
So what is your favorite family recipe? So a recipe that maybe you guys cook together, or traditional, whichever.
My favorite family recipe. I definitely think it's probably, I mean, just for us in the Southwest, enchiladas, green beef enchiladas with green chili, like that's just kind of our go-to. So yeah, I think hands down, that's the one thing that I can make that nobody would complain about.
Well, that's good. Everyone's in agreement.
Yeah,
So if you were to be an animal, personality type and everything, what animal would you be?
probably this dog that you keep seeing behind. Uh, yeah, I would say like probably a dog, a puppy, just like everything's new, everything's exciting, just do it. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah, exactly. So if you were having just an off day, it's not the best day ever, what is something that instantly makes that day better for you?
Mm, working out.
Mm.
Absolutely. If I'm like, it's working out, putting on some music, getting moving, that really helps me to get centered and kind of back on track and not feel so wow.
It does. It releases endorphins, it makes
Yeah,
you
yeah,
happy.
it absolutely does. Like I know that for myself. If I'm not working out every day, it's gonna get ugly.
See, we all know ourselves.
We do, we do.
So if you have a day off, you're not seeing clients. I know you have a lot of freedom with your schedule, but if you're not seeing any clients, what is your favorite way to spend your day off?
We go to the lake and just play in the water, and the boys love to tube, and the dogs love to ride on the boat. And so I just love to go to the lake and be on the water and chill out. We're not near an ocean, so lake it is, but I'm definitely a water girl.
I believe it. Well, that's great that you have the lake not too far from you. And so what my last question is, what is something an outsider wouldn't know about your industry?
That it is not rubbing crystals on you and saging you. That holistic is looking at the whole body, that it is not this woo-woo approach. So many people feel like they hear the word holistic, they hear the word natural, they think it's woo-woo, that I'm going to be like, woo, this is what we're doing. But honestly, it's very scientific. We're really looking at a lot of data and scientific backing. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised when they come to work with me, that they're like, I have never in my life been given this much information about what's going on in my child's body.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just you set the stage for your experience of being able to get through it and come out on the other side, and you give so many parents hope and kids. So my last and final question is, where can people find you, hire you? We'll link everything below, but if you could let us know too.
So I am of course, I'm on Facebook at Regenerating Health. I'm on Instagram at Regenerating Health. My website is www.regenerating.health. So, I have a blog, I've got a podcast, you can check all that out on my website. Those are probably the easiest ways to find me.
Perfect. Well, Dr. Piper, thank you so much for coming on today, sharing your journey and just everything that you're doing to really change the world for all of these families that you get to work with day in, day out. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Caroline, for having me. It was an honor to join you today, and it was really fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment below. What was the biggest takeaway from Dr. Piper today? What did you learn, maybe something new that you might have not known before? And we will see you on the next video. Thank you so much.